Would push against an incoming respite center.
They're going to completely turn our neighborhood upside down.
This community group says it won't stop fighting back, even as the local counselor gives the center the thumbs up.
We're all pretty shook because you never know. It could be your classmate, it could be someone you sit right beside doing tests.
Plus, school stabbing. We'll get you an update tonight on the teen victim's condition and the police's search for a suspect.
So for us to look around and work with some of the strongest, most fabulous women is a real treat for us.
Plus, pushing for greater representation. We're spotlighting an initiative to get more women on GTA fire crews. Good evening, I'm Chris Glover. We're beginning tonight with a neighborhood outcry. A community group in the Bathurst and Adelaide area rallied once again tonight against a planned respite center. It's just meters away from a school, and tonight parents brought their children to rally against the center. But not everybody is against the idea, including the local councillor. Anam Khan has our top story tonight.
About 150 people from a downtown Toronto neighborhood gathered to protest against the city's plan to open a 24-hour respite center. With two schools just steps away, neighbors say they're worried about bringing drugs and violence to the area.
They're going to completely turn our neighborhood upside down.
The city says it's relocating respite services from a site about 1 kilometer away at 25 Augusta Avenue. The Augusta site will be converted into 31 units of affordable housing, and the vacant commercial building at 629 Adelaide Street West will be transformed into a 60-bed facility for unhoused people.
We understand that there's an obligation for all of us to provide housing and safety and so forth for homeless, but there also has to be a balance, and there has to be consideration that there's a school right there.
Many residents say safety is already a problem with the supervised injection site in operation around the corner.
We see it already. We found needles and condoms in the schools.
But Sean Savances lives nearby and says he supports a respite center coming to the neighborhood.
I think the reality is that in a really densely populated area like this, you're never going to find a location that pleases everybody. And any location that's even workable, I think, should be considered because of the urgent need.
Despite the obvious need, the group Niagara Neighbors for Community Safety says it doesn't feel enough consultation was done by the city.
They haven't told us about their safety plans. They haven't told us about how the respite site's going to be run.
Local councillor Asma Malik supports the respite center. She was invited to attend tonight's rally but didn't show up. In a statement to CBC Toronto, she writes, "Our professional city staff are tasked with ensuring these essential services get located where there is existing need in the local population."
That's what upsets us.
But the local community group says it won't stop fighting. It has a petition with around 1,500 signatures. Anam Khan, CBC News, Toronto.
Now to some frightening moments at a Toronto high school today. A 17-year-old is recovering in hospital after being seriously injured in a stabbing. Greg Ross has the latest from Oakwood Collegiate Institute.
Police tell us that just before 1 o'clock this afternoon, a student here at Oakwood Collegiate was found just inside this stairwell here behind me, suffering from a stab wound to his torso. That student was rushed to hospital where he remains in serious but non-life-threatening condition. Now, police tell us that they don't believe the student was actually stabbed inside that stairwell. It appears that it happened off of school property.
We believe at this time that the incident occurred outside, away from school property, and that the male came to the school in order to get assistance. We do not believe that anybody's at risk at the school.
At the time that this happened, the school didn't have all of those details, so officials immediately put the school into lockdown, and it remained in lockdown for nearly 2 hours. And as you can imagine, it was a pretty chaotic scene here. School let out just after 3 o'clock this afternoon. We were able to talk to some of the students about what they went through.
The teacher locked the door, we turned the lights off, she put things over the windows and stuff, she closed the curtains, and we were just sitting in the dark.
So we were all pretty shook because you never know. It could be your classmate, it could be someone you sit right beside doing tests, sit right beside doing homework, and they could just be injured, and we never know what's going on. So
knowing that I knew none of my friends were hurt, so it was good, but it was just the uncertainty of what happened is really scary.
Police are still trying to piece together what happened here. They don't have any details about suspects or a possible motive. They say they are looking at security footage, not only from the school here, but the surrounding area, trying to get some more information. Greg Ross, CBC News, Toronto.
And up in Sault Ste. Marie, we're learning more tonight about a case of alleged intimate partner violence that left 3 children dead, along with a 41-year-old woman. Documents obtained by the Canadian press say the suspect, identified by family as 44-year-old Bobby Hallert, was charged with assaulting a police officer 4 years ago. Documents show the suspect received a conditional discharge and was not allowed to have any weapons. He was also mandated to participate in alcohol abuse counseling. Yesterday, police said the suspect broke into a home, shooting and killing a 41-year-old woman before going to a second home and killing the 3 children. Another woman was shot but survived. Police say the suspect later turned the gun on himself. Turning to developing news south of the border and the latest on the search for the suspect in America's latest mass shooting. At least 18 people are dead, 13 others wounded in Lewiston, Maine, after shootings at a restaurant and a bowling alley last night.
All Maine people are sharing in the sorrow of the families who lost loved ones last night. Loved ones, normal people who were killed or injured while unwinding from a day of work or while spending time with their family and friends, socializing.
A massive search is underway for 40-year-old Robert Card across multiple states. Tonight, heavily armed police surrounded a home connected to Card's family near the town of Bowdoin, but police cleared the area after several hours. Authorities are urging residents to stay indoors while schools and grocery stores, they remain closed. Police say Card is a U.S. Army reservist. Canadian border agents are also on alert against any possible attempt to enter our country illegally. President Joe Biden has ordered flags to be lowered in honor of the victims. Back in our region and to Peel, where police are investigating tonight after a doctor who works in Mississauga received an anti-Semitic death threat. Trillium Health Partners tells us the threat was received on Tuesday at a non-hospital work premises. Police say it was targeted towards a Jewish physician. The hospital network says a security plan was activated to ensure safety for the impacted person and the broader hospital community. Staying in Mississauga, there was an emotional press conference there today as a group of Canadians with family members in Gaza demanded a ceasefire to Israel's war with Hamas. They also called for aid to be allowed into Gaza. Delma Nuktuk has more.
Today we gather as concerned Canadians with families in Gaza as we witness the devastating war.
Tears were shed by families with loved ones in Gaza. At a press conference in Mississauga today, they called on the federal government to demand a ceasefire as well as develop a plan to get Canadians safely out of Gaza. 2 years ago, during active bombings there, the feds helped reunite Abdullah al-Hamadni with his wife and 3 sons. His mother, brother, and other relatives are still back home.
It was a great help, and I am grateful to the Canadians. And I feel proud that my kids are safe right now. But still, the second part is there. We feel guilt in the same times. We have conflicting, and we confused that we left our families behind us.
And the situation there is worsening. According to the Hamas-controlled health ministry in Gaza, more than 6,500 Palestinians have died since October 7th, mostly women and children. This woman says her family's home there was bombed. Several of her nephews were staying there.
1 year old and twins 4 years old and one 6 months and one 12 years old, and all of them injured.
Every hour, many ambulances come back and forth carrying injured and dead.
Thank you so much.
Mansour, a Canadian in Gaza, joined the press conference from a hospital where he says thousands are sheltering. Organizers withheld his last name for safety. The families also want to see a steady flow of humanitarian aid allowed in. The UN says 1.4 million people have been displaced and are in desperate need of supplies, especially fuel to support hospitals.
People here need fuel to run the electrical generators that some places have. There is almost no more fuel in Gaza. Almost half of the hospitals and clinics have stopped working, either through the bombardments or the lack of fuel.
Mr. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, please help all the people of Gaza.
Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says he does support a pause in the war to allow aid in, but this former Canadian ambassador to Israel isn't sure Trudeau's influence will matter.
It's Bibi Netanyahu, his war cabinet, and Joe Biden that are the major players here.
Israel has allowed some food and water to enter into Gaza, but aid workers say the supplies are insufficient. Dale Manukduk, CBC News, Mississauga.
The war in the Middle East is continuing to divide Ontario's NDP. Earlier this week, MPP Sarah Jama was kicked out of the NDP's caucus after she made comments on social media about the war. Tonight, there's a new push calling for the resignation of the NDP leader over Jama's ousting. Lorenda Redekop has the latest.
Speaker, this government is under criminal investigation by the RCMP.
The opposition leader would like to be challenging the government. Instead, she's facing a fight within her own party. This social media post calls on her to resign. It's from the party's riding association in Kitchener Centre. It's just one example of the outcry following Styles booting MPP Sarah Jama from the NDP caucus.
I ground my words in the realities of the Israeli apartheid and Israel's ongoing domination and occupation.
After reading a speech not approved by the party during a debate to censure her.
The member put us in a very untenable position, and I had to make a very difficult decision. And I know that there's going to be some hurt out there, and we have a lot of conversations to have.
MPP Jill Andrew posted yesterday saying she did not support the decision on Jama and that the party's news release about it used stereotypical tropes about Black women. But today she refused to comment further.
I stand by my statement, and that's all I have to say at this moment.
Some other MPPs say they do back their leader, only in the job for less than a year.
Does Marit Stiles have your support?
Yes. Marit Stiles has my full support. She made a difficult decision as the leader. Sarah Jama, in many respects, put her in that untenable position.
The federal MP for Hamilton Centre has also spoken up, saying it's part of a long history of racialized voices being ignored.
It's a sign of a pretty widespread revolt that it's hard to think of a similarity in the past.
One political scientist says this battle inside the NDP is perfect timing for the government, trying to escape questions on issues such as the Greenbelt.
Collectively, they've stepped on a banana peel that Doug Ford very clearly threw out, and they've fallen on it.
And he says the timing is also good for the Liberals, set to elect a new leader in December. As for whether Jama could be welcomed back into the NDP, Stiles says she doesn't think so at this point. Lorenda Redekop, CBC News, Toronto.
All right, let's step outside for a live look at the city right now, and it's 18 degrees and cloudy. Colette Kennedy is here with a first look at the weather forecast, and no sun to speak of today, Colette. But let's talk about these temperatures.
So daytime highs today, yeah, I know, rain early and then that cloud deck, really hard to break through that, but still such mild temperatures. And then where the rain's been lingering, that's the more organized stuff along the first frontal boundary that we have to deal with. But then what happens is the next one will be coming through, not for the overnight, just scattered showers that we'll be looking at. Some breezy conditions, though, as we go into Friday. But we do get some clearing, so becoming a mix of sun and cloud. And that sun that comes through is what's going to help with those temperatures to pop those up. Then it's going to be Friday night into Saturday morning where the cold front will go through, and then things start to change on Saturday. I'll go into more detail on that coming up. Tonight, very mild overnight temperatures, and 22, 23. Will we get to 24? We'll take a run at it for tomorrow, Chris.
All right, we'll have to see. Okay, thank you, Colette. Hey, welcome back. Firefighters are a vital part of our emergency response, but across North America and right here in the GTA, just a small fraction of them are women. Now there's a new push to change that. Ellie Chiasson has the story.
We are doing a rescue drag bonanza. So basically what I'm doing as an instructor, I'm going to demonstrate different techniques for the students to do, and then they get to practice. So I'm going to drag her just a little bit until her feet clear whatever obstacle it is.
Some of us, just being of a different physiology, we have to use our bodies slightly different, but we have to, in the end, do the same job.
Then I'm going to set this arm back down, and go back to her feet. If I got to do a spin here, I got to do a spin, and then I'm going back to her feet for a strike. that's what I'm stronger at.
These future firefighters, all of them women, are learning everything from how to drag someone out of a building, rescue patients trapped in burning vehicles, doing drills on how to extinguish structure fires, plane crashes.
And the neat part about this is, as a female in the fire service, when we go to work, most of the time we are working with 4% of females in the fire service across North America. So for us to look around and work with some of the strongest, most fabulous women that we know that kind of understand is a real treat for us, because then we see ourselves reflected in the people that we're working with.
The goal is to recruit more women into the industry. Some are just getting their feet wet.
My dad texted me just the other day while I was at school, do you want to come out, like skip the school for the day and come help me out?
Others are exploring a possible second career.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. I mean, it's great to like try out a bunch of different courses that you never get to experience, really. So yeah, it's a great learning experience here.
There's a thought about what it is to be a firefighter. And so to make sure that you're seeing yourself, seeing representations of you, makes people feel comfortable and safe to step into the career. Traditionally, females bring an exceptional communication skill into the fire department, which is very beneficial to our departments in the communities as well. But I think there's massive advantages to having, a diverse population of firefighters, which certainly includes females.
This year we're sold out, and we've never been sold out in the symposium before, because now I think the demographic is changing, where we're seeing more women get hired and more women coming out.
As with any industry, it makes a huge difference when you can see someone who is just like yourself succeeding in that career. And you can imagine for such a physically demanding job like firefighting, that is so the case for a lot of these women to see it, achieve it, and yeah, save some lives. Ali Chiasson, CBC News, Toronto.
All right, now to the story of one incredible Toronto teen who kick-flipped her way to gold earlier this week in Chile at the Pan Am Games. 13-year-old skateboarder Faye DeFazio Ebert won gold on Sunday, and I spoke to the Toronto teen on CBC Radio's Here and Now about her incredible achievement. Here's part of that conversation. Okay, so take me back to the moment when you were there in competition and you realized that you had won gold. What was that like?
So I was in first from like the starting, my first run. And so basically it was like the Brazilian's last run. Her name's Heike. She landed it and I like saw in her eyes she was gonna do, and she was landing every trick. And then I got her the bowl and gave her a hug. I was like, yes! Then we all lined up. We were all waiting for the score. She was in second. And I was like, what the heck? I literally thought she was going to be in first. And then I looked up and I was like, wait, does that mean like I won? And then I went up to Sean, the coach, and I was like, he's like, you did it. And I was like, what the heck? I don't know. I can't even explain.
84.66, the winning run. This 13-year-old from Toronto is now atop of the Americas. It's fail day and gold for Canada.
Oh gosh, we went into so much more than that. She even sang and played the ukulele as well. You can catch more of our interview with Faye right on our website. Head to cbc.ca/Toronto, and we'll be back in just a moment. It was nice, I guess, but Colette, I'm missing the sun.
Yeah, Chris, when we had the rain, of course, but the cloud cover too, kind of a gloomy day, and it can start to feel gloomy when our sun sets earlier and earlier. And if we just take a look, let's go the other direction and look at our sunrise. So our sunrise over the next several weeks here for tomorrow, 7:46, around 7:45. Then a week later, it's 7:55, but that's right before we set our clocks back on November 3rd. That is going to be just after that they change. So see what happens. Then on the 10th, 7:04 for that sunrise, and then just about 7:15 by the time we get to the 17th of November. Yes, getting ahead of ourselves. Let's back it up and look at what's happening through the overnight hours. Still some of those scattered showers moving through and lingering early tomorrow morning, but then our sky conditions will be changing as we'll see some of those clouds eroding. We get into a mix of sun and cloud. That is going to help, along with some really blustery winds, especially for southwestern Ontario or along the the north shore of Lake Erie and into the Niagara region. Those blustery winds out of the southwest also will be picking our temperatures up. And then it's Friday night into Saturday. The cold front goes through. Could be a few isolated thunderstorms as that moves through. It brings out sun for Saturday, but a westerly to northwesterly wind, which starts to bring those temperatures down on us too. And more showers will move in, by the way, for Sunday. Looking at those rainfall amounts gives you an idea. Much lighter stuff we're seeing through this region than we're getting further to the north into cottage country or northeastern Ontario. Overnight temperatures are so mild here. And they'll be mild, relatively mild again tomorrow night, and then they start to really change as we look ahead towards Saturday's high, just 13, but at least it will be nice to have bright sunshine. But Sunday, some cool readings here, and the overnight lows do get cool. So it does mean on Tuesday, Halloween for our trick-or-treaters, those costumes will need that modification, whatever it is, to make sure everyone's bundled up and keeping warm, Chris.
All right, Colette, thank you very much. There was a special event today for the Raptors and a new book that they are celebrating, a launch, and the details, the origins of the team. Fans lining up at U of T tonight to get their copy of the book signed by the author, Alex Wong. And the new book, called Prehistoric, covers the origin story of the Raptors and how the team's arrival in Toronto changed the landscape of basketball in the city. And finally, tonight, Toronto Metropolitan University celebrated the launch of its Black Scholarship Institute today.
So this work is to, again, bring about representation and visibility, but also to embed the Afrocentric and diasporic ways of thinking, of learning, but also scholarship and wisdom within and across the curriculum.
The goal is to highlight the challenges faced by Black scholars in academia. A 2020 TMU review found that Black university students face a broad spectrum of issues, including isolation and skepticism. The Institute hopes to unite the Black academia community. And that's our show for you tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you back here tomorrow at 11.